there's a lot to tell, and there's not enough time to tell it. So I'm only going to, as John said, you have a well full of information, but you'll only be able to give a teacup. Now here's a story that I don't know, I don't think anybody knows, but Clara Henderson, Sanford's mother, had a brother. She was from Nova Scotia, and she had a brother, Harry. Harry Preeper was his name. During World War I, Harry, I think he was a conscientious objector. He didn't want to go into the army. So, you know, they treated conscientious objectors terribly. They were executed or imprisoned or whatever at that time. And Harry was put into an internment camp in Amherst. Now, John Calder comes from Spring Hill. He'd never heard of it, but apparently at that time there were 3 internment camps in Nova Scotia, 25 in Canada, and the one in Amherst was the biggest of them all. It would hold up to 864 prisoners. It was in an old iron foundry. It was about 1/4 of a mile long and 100 feet wide, and they had them crammed in like sardines. They weren't, well, a lot of them were German, the Germans that had been captured, prisoners of war, but not only Germans. They were also people like Harry Preeper and people who some immigrants maybe from Eastern Europe that they thought might be sympathetic to the enemy. But I'm sure they probably weren't, but they were put in there. Well, when Clara Henderson died, not sure what year that was, but anyway, her brother Harry came to visit my father. And he was an old man. I can still see him coming into the house. And he told the story of how he was put into this internment camp. And he and some other young fellas escaped. And so they were seen escaping, and they were running across a field or something. And he said the guards they had like 250 guards. And they were shooting them. And Harry, he ran. He just kept going and going. And he got away. And I think some of the others got shot. And he didn't stop until he got to Clara Henderson's down here at Gray's Mills. I mean, he just kept coming. And he hid out there during World War I. And he worked in Charlie Rogers' lumber camp, and it would have been down at, Bradley Brook. Here's a picture of Harry when he was young and when he was here. So I'll pass this along.
Is that taken here?
Taken here, yeah. You can look up, if you're interested, you can Google internment camp, Amherst, Nova Scotia, World War I, and you can read. The other interesting point about that internment camp was there was a famous person who was interned there also, Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky, the Russian revolutionary who organized the Red Army and worked with Lenin and, and to depose the Tsar of Russia. And he was in that camp. So you can read about this online. So we're connected. Isn't that interesting, really?